welcome to Best Laid Plans. This is your host, Sarah Hart-Unger, and this is the podcast where we talk all things planning and planning adjacent. I cannot believe it, but this is episode 300 of Best Laid Plans. And I don't know the story of when this podcast started. Some of you have been listening from the very beginning, and thank you so much. But this podcast started in 2020 because I was working in my medical job and they were doing something called a furlough where they were having us not work, I think every other Friday, but we were kind of forced to take time off whether we wanted to or not. And I was already doing a podcast, Best of Both Worlds, with Laura Vanderkam, which is still going strong today, almost 9 years into it. But I thought, now I have these extra Fridays, I think I better find something else to do with myself. And so I was like, you know what I love? I love planners and I love planning. So I'll just start this little side project. And if anybody wants to listen to it, maybe I'll get a few planner fanatics to join me here. And I never dreamed it would become such a big part of my life and something that I know I have like a good number of people that have listened for many, many years. I get emails every single day from you guys. I get the best comments and questions. I ended up writing a book with the same name with so many of the things that I learned while doing this podcast and then teaching the courses that came from this podcast. And I mean, it's amazing that this all started as just like a little fun side project in 2020 during pandemic times. So I thought it would be fun to reflect a little bit on this episode with gratitude to all of you who are listening about some things that I feel very passionate about, just feeling grateful for that are sort of planning adjacent, and then also expressing gratitude as to the things that planning has done for me over the years in terms of the benefits that planning rituals have brought to my life, and I'm sure to many of yours as well. So I guess as we start, I do just want to thank you guys. You are the primary person that needs to be thanked. Anybody who is listening to this today, if you've ever left a review or shared this podcast with a friend or emailed me, sent me a question or a tip, a hot tip on a new planner release or a tactic, thank you so much. But even if you just have listened, I really, really appreciate it because podcasting would not be as fun without people listening. And again, it just comes full circle as I get so many questions and ideas just from you guys and then share it and it goes forward. So that's my number one expression of gratitude. But I'm also going to share 5 planning and planning adjacent things I am grateful for. Okay, to start with, this is kind of maybe the most obvious, but I am grateful for all of the creative minds in the planner making industry. And this goes to the big like higher ups behind some of the larger planner companies like Erin Condren and Hobonichi, but also to those smaller brands and the creators that are doing such interesting and innovative things with the planners they make. Someone like Laurel Denise, or people that I've interacted with personally, like Heather from Sprouted Planner, Rebecca from Halo Planner, and Lori from ProAction Planner. All 3 of those, plus Laurel Denise, are examples of companies that have just like innovated beyond the standard planner layouts and have done such interesting things with the format of a book that's designed to help to be a sidekick for you as you navigate life and decide all the cool things that you're going to do. And I think, sorry, this is such a digression, but that is the cool thing about planners and the power of what they are. Not everybody loves them, not everybody uses them, and that's okay. But for those that do, the idea that like seeing your life in a certain way or being guided through a format can actually shape the events of what happens in your actual life, that is magical. And I just have to thank the hardworking people who design these amazing things and who iterate. And I'm sure it is hard, especially hard work in some of these small businesses, but they keep doing it year after year, responding to feedback. And I'm so excited what they're going to be doing in the future. And by no means was that all of the small planner brands. Just as I'm saying this, there's so many that popped into my head, like Sterling Inc. and Wonderland and Ashley Shelley and like 9 million more. But you get what I'm saying. Thank you to all the cool people in the planner industry making such interesting products for us to play with and learn from. Okay, number 2, I want to give a big thank you and shout out to Planner YouTube. And I guess I mean that in generalities, but I feel like there's one creator that I've mentioned a bunch that deserves a little bit of extra love, and that is Amanda from Amanda's Favorites. Because for people that email me and they're looking for a certain planner or they're asking detailed questions about what content a certain planner has or system has, I know that Amanda has probably done a video on that particular plan that I can steer them to, where they can see her touch the pages and write in the planner and give her honest feedback and just such detailed coverage of what is actually in these things. And I know other people doing it, but I think Amanda might do it for the widest variety of brands, and she does it with such love and passion. So number 2 goes to Planner YouTube and specifically to Amanda from Amanda's Favorites. All right, number 3. I have to give thanks, and this podcast is so inspired by other podcasts and the creators that I follow that talk all about productivity, from people that just talk about how they do things, like kind of specifically going through their lives so I can learn by gleaning from what their methods must be, and then other people who really get very outright and specific about what their tactics are. So just a few examples, and there are so many more, but Cal Newport's Deep Questions, I listen almost every week, and I think there's just so much interesting stuff in the way that he plans. There's so many parallels with how I do things, but there are differences as well. Kendra Adachi's Lazy Genius, and she's written a book on planning as well that's so different from mine, but still so interesting. And I always learn from her perspective on things. Gretchen Rubin's work has been huge. I've listened to Happier from probably its inception. I've read all of her books, and her tactics, plus the tactics of her sister, who operates very differently, are always fascinating to me. And then finally, the girls on Girl Next Door I don't want to say finally. There are so many more. Oh, and as adjacent to Happier, I have to mention the Happier ladies here. And interestingly, this one's a little bit cyclical because I know they've listened to me and used some of my stuff, but then they put their own interesting spins on it. And then I learn from them, learning from me. So that's super, super fun. That's the Happier ladies. And then Girl Next Door podcast is actually one of the very first podcasts I listened to after I decided I wanted to do a conversational podcast. This was before Best of Both Worlds. And I love the way they chatted and talked about life, and it felt so inspiring, and I felt like I learned from what they did, and I still do today. So Kelsey and Erica on Girl Next Door podcast, you guys have been inspirational, and I thank you guys so much. There are so many more. Edit Your Life and The Mom Hour, which is now a different podcast, but so many more. But that's just a smattering of amazing sources of inspiration in my kind of planning journey as I've developed the methods that I have and have just learned from the best doing what they do. All right, number 4, you're like, where's Laura? Why didn't she get listed? What happened to Before Breakfast? Well, I felt like she deserved her own special bullet point because we worked together so closely for so long, and I've read everything that she's written, and time management and planning are really kind of like best friends, right? Time management is how you see your time and how you deal with your time, and planning is just like sort of the number one tool of behind, I guess, how you manage your time, in my opinion. So much to ode to her and what I've learned from her. Plus, she is just such an incredibly supportive and fun person to work with. I am always bouncing ideas off of her. She is always encouraging right back at me. So yes, she has to be separated into her own bullet point here in planning and planning adjacent things that I am grateful for. And finally, number 5, stationery stores, the ones that are putting paper out there for people to peruse. I know that it's probably a risky industry to get into, especially when you're selling dated products. Like the pressure of buying planners for a given year and they're not going to be good the next year must be immense. And people are doing it anyway because they love paper. So just a shout out to all of the independent and larger stationery stores out there. And I include online ones here too, like Jet Pens, where I really enjoy ordering from on a regular basis. And even the Hobonichi stores are so fantastic and fun to order from. So all of the stationery stores, large and small out there, thank you for doing what you do and allowing us to touch your products in person. It is such a thrill to go to a city and visit a stationery store with a big, wide selection of products from all over the place. All right, so that is a very incomplete list of planning and planning adjacent things that I am grateful for. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about 5 things that I am so thankful that planning does for me. Today's episode is brought to you with support from Prep Dish. Did you ever just wish someone would figure out dinner for you? Prep Dish is a service that does exactly that. It takes the mental load out of planning dinner and provides efficient and super balanced meals for each week. Here's how it works. Every week, you will receive a full week's dinner plan in your email, complete with shopping list. There are now also Instacart links to make it even easier to shop if you like to shop that way. Or, of course, you can take the printable list to your favorite grocery store. Then all the prep work is laid out for you, and each of the weeknight dinners come together really quickly. You do the cooking, but someone else has done the thinking in a really strategic way. I love that. To try it out at no cost, go to prepdish.com/plans to activate your trial. In addition to the super fast menus that I love and use regularly, Prep Dish has gluten-free, paleo, and low-carb options, so there's truly something for everyone. Again, that's prepdish.com/plans for your first 2 weeks free. If you try it, let me know. I'd love to hear about it.
Spring is in the air, which means now is the time to save during spring outdoor power deals at the Home Depot. Make cleanup easier when you go cordless with the Milwaukee M18 string trimmer, designed to deliver more runtime, more speed, and maximum performance. Then grab a select Milwaukee fuel attachment, like the pole saw, edger, or brush cutter, included at no extra cost when you buy the Milwaukee M18 string trimmer. Shop 7 days of spring outdoor power deals at the Home Depot, now through April 29th.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
All right, I am back. And yes, this is a very gratitude-filled, maybe slightly gushy episode, but I mean, it is number 300. I felt like it was a cause for celebration. So I do hope that this list is inspiring to you in some way. So, top 5 things that planning does for me that I am grateful for. Number 1, maybe the smallest, but still significant. I feel like planning helps me to enjoy my media more. And this includes various forms of art, like writing and music, because by paying attention to what's coming out and paying attention to what I really like, I get more excited about those things and I end up consuming more of these things that are truly meaningful to me rather than just what happens to be placed in front of me at any given moment. And I think in our current kind of like algorithm-driven society, this is particularly important. You don't want to just read the book that was served to you. You want to follow the sources that you trust and really think about what you want to do with your precious time and attention in terms of enjoying books, music, art, dance, and theater, and all those types of media. So I love tracking these things, and I also attribute planning and planning tactics to helping me enjoy these things just a little bit more. So that is number 1. Number 2, planning, and especially kind of planning's cousin, visioning, has really helped me to take just some really big leaps in my life that I don't know if I would otherwise. And I'll give you some kind of crazy examples here. So there have been career pivots that I've taken that really took me sitting about, what do I want to do next year? What do I want the end of next year to look like? To make a big decision like leading a leadership role, to choose to go part-time, or starting a podcast when I started Best of Both Worlds with Laura Vanderkam, or even like having a 3rd child. And this one I know is like a double-edged thing because many people listening to this might want to have kids or expand their family or do something in their life that they can't plan because there are things that are beyond our control. So I absolutely want to acknowledge that here. But in the cases when it does work out, it's so beautiful. And in my life, I have many gifts that I can attribute to thinking about them. And I don't mean in a manifesting way. I mean in a like, what do I want? And what are the concrete steps I can do to get those things in life? So number 3 is kind of related to what I said about disappointment, or maybe not always being able to have the things you plan work out. And I know that is painful. I still think it's worth planning because so many of the things are going to work out, or even if some of them do, I think it's worth it. But I've had things in my life that did not go according to plan, as you guys know. So you know that I have had my health stuff from last year, and I had always had for so many years on my bucket list to run the Boston Marathon. I think it was on my 100 dreams list that Laura had inspired me to create in like 2009 or something like that, and it had been on many, many goals lists since then. But now I cannot put that on my goals list. That is 100% not going to happen, never going to be able to do it safely. And so I've been able to use planning tactics to figure out what exactly I want to be doing instead. And that has helped me lean more into other hobbies and really find joy in other things. And it's been that active reflection of, okay, dead end, but what can I explore? And can I go deeper? And can I put little bits of these things on my goals list so I can figure out what I like? I figured out that I used to do tons of musical stuff and I fell away from it for many years and then started playing piano again in the last year or two. And I'm not saying I'm not like good. I mean, I have certain things I'm really good at, but technically I'm not that proficient, but it's still been so much fun. I'm singing more. You're going to hear more about that in a bit. And just, I don't know, like just figuring out what can bring me joy in the void of something that doesn't anymore. Music's been one of those things. And then other forms of fitness as well that I can really lean into and make the best of with a plan and tracking and following up on said plan. All right, number 4, I talked about this in a prior episode, which interestingly doesn't have that much overlap with this list. I did an episode about a year ago that was something like 10 benefits of planning beyond productivity. And as I wrote these notes, I was like, wait, did I already name all these things? And I didn't actually. That episode focuses more on kind of life management benefits, but this one did appear on both lists. And I'm going to include it anyway because it is something that really does matter to me, which is that planning helps me to feel less stressed on a moment-to-moment basis. Because if I can feel comfortable that like I know what's on the day's list and I know that I have things that are necessary captured and I don't have to look at it all every day, which is how my system is designed, I feel better. I can go about the day being like, this is what's on my plate. That is what's not on my plate. And of course, there are going to be times when the day goes awry and I have to pivot or whatever, but I'm still not going to be faced with all of the loose ends every single day, which for me is incredibly overwhelming and kind of leads to me going nowhere. So planning, and specifically planning in time horizons with my kind of nested system that I've talked about here so many times, I'm just grateful that I can put on my plate every day, what I have to do and feel confident that the rest of it is going to be handled and that I'm going to see it when I need to see it. So I guess that's also kind of task management getting in there as well. But just really grateful about this that planning does for me. And honestly, even without all these other benefits, I think I would still plan, in part because removing a stressor, removing a negative feeling is a very powerful motivator. And that's honestly sometimes just what keeps me going with many of these tactics, is that I want to feel that peace and feel less stressed by being on top of my system in general. All right. And finally, number 5, we're going to do some storytelling first. So I am recording this episode. Like, if my voice sounds a tiny bit hoarse, there is a reason. But if I sound really, really happy, it's the same reason. And that's because I spent this past weekend going to a college a cappella group reunion. I think I mentioned it on some prior episodes. You guys are like, yes, we're tired of hearing about your college a cappella group reunion. But it was something that I decided to do that was not practical, but I put the planning muscle in anyway and squeezed it in after a clinic day, got my flights, got the kid coverage, did all the planning stuff. And it just paid off so much. I had the best time. We were all saying it was better than a regular college reunion because I actually think it's because you're doing an activity you did in college. So you're actually like play acting being in college, but also resurrecting these relationships, which was just like so gratifying and life affirming. And it only would have happened with planning. And not just my planning, by the way, planning of the people that were so kind to put together this event, the alumni and the current members of the a cappella group that I was in. That was their planning muscle that put together this connection. And I know that when I do that for my friends and I make sure that we take our yearly trips together or holding book club or things like that, that bringing together is always worth it. And I appreciate it so much when other people do it for me. And I know that in turn, people likely appreciate it when I'm the facilitator. And I feel like if nothing else of these benefits existed, but planning is just there to allow you to do more of what matters in life. And most of what matters in life is family and friends and having fun together and keeping our relationships alive, the ones that are meaningful to us. So yeah, I credit planning, and I'm just really so grateful that other people's planning and my own planning were able to bring me for this super fun weekend, reconnecting with the past, but also building relationships for the future. So I have so many other people I could thank in this podcast. I mean, it makes me think of like the acknowledgement section of my book, where I thank all of my family members, my husband, who like goes with most of the plans I create, our nanny, who helps make many of the logistics in our family possible, my close friends, Kay, that I text with all of the time. I already mentioned Laura, my college besties, anybody that I contact and bounce off ideas, anybody who's supported me in this journey, like Kelly, who encouraged me to start, Kelly Nolan, who does the Bright Method, encouraged me to start creating courses, and Kelsey Wharton, who's been just an awesome person to bounce ideas off of. Anybody who's been influential to me in this journey, and I'm sure I didn't name all of you whatsoever, but thank you all so much. I can't believe we're at episode 300. And if you've gotten this far in this episode, I appreciate so much that you're listening. Now, one final request, I guess two, actually. I'm going to give two requests. Number one, if you've never put a review on this podcast, it would be amazing if you could do it now. It just does so much for people to be able to find the podcast. And usually on the part of the reviewer, it just takes a couple of clicks. So if you're able to do that, I'm so grateful. And the other thing, though, is if you have ideas for where this podcast should go for its next 300 episodes or so, I am all ears. I have already heard from some of you. You want some planner reviews back, so I'm excited about doing that. I have some people that really want more tech and AI content and others that really don't. So that'll be interesting to figure out how to navigate that. But hopefully I can make all of you happy. And of course, I'll continue to share lots of kind of themed episodes and Q&A episodes. So I do need your questions to keep coming in as they have been. I have to add on one, as I knew I would. This one's so obvious that I forgot to include it. And that's that I need to thank the team at Sound Advice Strategies, who are the producers and editors of this podcast, without which there would be no Best Laid Plans. So thank you to Phyllis and Kelvin and Angie and everybody at Sound Advice for your help and support all these years. Thank you for dealing with it when my episodes are a little bit later than they should be. And for my late breaking ads, you guys are awesome and I appreciate it. So that is it. A very gratitude-filled episode for our 300th week birthday at Best Laid Plans. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will be back in your feed next Monday. Have a wonderful week.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.